Hello, hello, and welcome once again to the Wednesday lunch stream. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure to give this a thumbs up and comment. Let me know you're watching this on the replay. How's everybody doing? Let me know if you guys can hear me and see me. I think you can, but let me know you can hear me, see me, everything going okay. It's the only way I can check. All right. So, in today's Ask Me Anything Wednesday lunch stream, what I'm going to do is actually show you a few tricks for finding writing gigs. That's the number one question I get is how do I even find clients? How do I find people that will pay me to write? That's always the biggest question, right? And so, if you've listened to me enough, you know that I always talk about building your samples first. Make sure that before you go finding people to pay you to write, you've build some samples of your work. Let me give you an example of something that happened last week. So there was somebody that was connected with me on LinkedIn. Hey, Stacy, good day. There was somebody that was connected with me on LinkedIn. They had reached out and we had chatted, and this was, I want to say, 4 or 5 months ago. Hi, Patricia. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So, as you're coming in, thanks for saying hi. So this person had connected with me. This is what I'm just trying to illustrate why it's so important for you to create samples of your work. Always, like, if you haven't already, even if it's just a PDF. So I'd spoken to this person maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and what happened was that there was an opportunity that came my way, and I was like, oh, this person, hi Abuna, thanks for coming. This person had reached out to me a few months ago and told me about their background and such, and so I think I'd like to pass this opportunity on to them. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, could you show me samples of what you've written? I'd like to see those samples. So he sent me his samples. About an hour later, I read through the samples. I'm like, okay, this is really good. And then I passed it on to the person that needed a writer. And as soon as I passed it on to them, the person just said, oh, this is really good. I'm going to schedule a meeting with them. And it's very likely that that will turn into an opportunity, a paid opportunity for that individual. So as somebody that has been a freelance writer myself, and as somebody that is now in a position to like connect writers sometimes, not all the time, okay, this thing I've been saying for years, sample, sample, sample. So I'm going to show you a few tips that you can use to get clients. But before that, make sure you have your samples ready to go. Now, when this person sent me their samples, they were on PDFs. He doesn't have a website or anything like that. He had just created these and saved them as PDF documents on his computer. And so all he did was attach those PDF documents to a LinkedIn message and send them directly to me. And I was able to download them and read them, right? So it doesn't matter if you don't have a website, just make sure that you're creating these samples somewhere and keeping them so that if anybody asks you, you have them. And I would say that depending on your niche, or if you have several niches you write in, create a sample for each of those niches. So let's say that you write for personal finance, and then you write I don't know, healthcare and beauty. Okay. Have samples for each of these verticals so that if you pitch a publication in a particular niche, you can give that to them. Okay. So you guys can still hear me, see me. I love it. I love it. Thanks all of you for coming in. So the first tip I'm going to show you on getting clients is going to be on LinkedIn. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. So right here is my LinkedIn feed. Okay. Now, when you go into your LinkedIn feed, one of the things that you can do is to actually search for somebody that is looking for freelance writers. Sometimes what people will do is that they will make a post that we're looking for writers, we're looking for contract writers, we're looking for freelance writers in a post. So what I'll do here is looking for freelance writers. Okay. I'll see all results. And then I'll look in posts. So you go to posts. Okay. Now, what we can do here is that we can sort by the time this was posted. So let's see, the latest, okay? And then we say show results. All right, so we can go through this um, and then see if there's anyone who might be looking for opportunity, who might be looking for freelancer. Okay, so somebody says, "Hi, folks, I'm currently looking for freelance." Well, this person's looking for work, but okay, let's keep on scrolling. Sometimes it takes a little bit. Okay, this one says freelance medical writers. I am working with a medcom agency on a 40-hour week opportunity. This is fully remote, looking for somebody with experience in ad board and symposia. So this is, and then they give you their email, right? So this is a really simple way. It took us a few, like we have to scroll through like what, 7 or 8 different posts, but the ninth or 10th post is this one, who posted just about an hour ago for freelance medical writers. So if you were a medical writer and you were freelance, this could be an opportunity for you. It's 40 hours a week. It's most likely contract because it's freelance medical writers. And so you have this, and then you could have something else, and you could be making full-time income. So that's just one way for you to begin to look for these opportunities, is just jumping on LinkedIn, typing in looking for freelance writers or whatever keywords that you want to use: freelance medical writers, freelance health writers, freelance beauty writer. All of these kind of keywords you want to use based on the niche that you're in. And then once you get the search results, scroll through to see. I would filter it by the latest, because when it's recent, it's more likely that you're going to land the gig, right? It's more likely that they will consider your gig. If it was a week ago, it's likely that more people have applied for that opportunity, and they're already saturated and hit by so many people looking for that. But if you have your samples ready, right? If you have your samples ready to go, you look for this, and then it was just posted about an hour ago, like the one I just showed you, then this becomes such a great opportunity for you to send your email, send your samples to that person and pitch them to get writing work. So let me know if that was helpful. Just hit that like button. Let me know in the comments as well. And you can ask questions in the comments too. All right. The second way to look for freelance writing gigs that I wanted to share today, it's also on LinkedIn. Okay. And let me go back to sharing the screen again. All right. So again on LinkedIn, all right, this time what we're going to look for are contract positions. So we can type in contract writer. Okay, so you see contract writer in jobs. Okay, so let's look for that. Because again, when you are contract, that means that you are in a freelance position. You're not, if you don't want to work full time as a writer, that's fine. There are lots of freelance writers who are making full time income, who are not working full time like I am, but write on a freelance basis. So if you type in contract writer, okay, you're going to come up on all of these results from various companies. And in this search I did today, right, there are almost 3,000 results. These are 3,000 opportunities. So by going through each of these, you will be able to find opportunities for writers. All right. And some of these are really great. Now, you're probably thinking, why will somebody want to hire me as a contract writer versus a full-time? There's so many reasons why this happens. Even with the agency I work with currently, even though we have in-house writers, excellent in-house writers, sometimes there's just so much more work than there are writers. Okay, they're just so much more work than they are writers, and we may need to outsource some of that to a freelance writer because something needs to be rushed, something needs to be done quickly, and we just don't have the bandwidth in house to take care of that. But if you have, applied for these contract positions, right, these contract writer roles, it's not a full-time opportunity, but I bet that you're going to get paid $5,000 to $10,000, right, on a project that they need to outsource because they just don't have the time, they just don't have the bandwidth in house in that agency to to create that piece of content or create that ebook. And this is another thing I wanted to share on today's lunch stream, was the fact that even though on this channel I've talked mostly about writing blog content, because when I was freelance writing, and even right now in my role as an agency writer, right, blog content is very popular marketing content, and there's still blog content that is being written. So blogging really is not dead. The intention and how it's done is different, but it's definitely not dead. But as a freelance writer, I also want you to be thinking beyond just writing blog content. Be thinking about ebooks, for instance. These are so huge. There are multi-million and multi-billion dollar companies that need ebooks written on their products. And these ebooks can take hours to write. Ask me how I know. I know they take hours and hours to write. And again, sometimes these companies will be fishing and looking around for a really long time for people that could write that ebook and don't find good writers. Now, let me just tell you this. You would think that as much as I talk about freelance writing, and as much as there's a lot of content out there about freelance writing and writing in general, that there would be a bunch of good writers out there. But again, having worked in this industry for almost half a decade, and now just playing in a different, still writing, but doing it in a different capacity, I see that there are very few good writers, right? And so by distinguishing yourself with your samples, by distinguishing yourself with the work that you do, again, you could land some really good opportunities writing not just blog content, but things like ebooks for companies. White papers. A white paper is sometimes, I don't know if I've ever had this question, but the difference between a white paper and an ebooks. Ebooks may be longer and they're educational. They may have more detail. White papers are not as long, in my opinion. They're not as long as ebooks, and they tend to be quite technical, right? And they have the intent of trying to convince people to buy whatever it is that needs to be bought, whatever is being marketed, right? So you need to be thinking about these different types of documents: their blog posts, their ebooks, their white papers, PowerPoint presentations, guys. This is a place where people are looking for that kind of stuff. And another skill that I'm finding that is extremely useful is SEO. And if you watch the live lunch stream from last week, if you didn't watch that, I highly recommend you check that out. I shared how I was able to use SEO to increase blog traffic from 0 to the person getting 3,000 organic visits from Google per month. So having that skill of SEO is also important. Anyway, these are if you have any questions, again, it's an Ask Me Anything live. Please ask me. We have just about, I usually take these about half an hour. So let me know if you have any questions in the chat. All right. So that's one of some of the few things I wanted to share on today's lunch stream. The other way to find gigs, so I've shown you 2 ways to find gigs. The other way to find gigs is have writer friends and join writing communities. Now, these are not easy to find, and I say that again, having been in this space for a while. They're not super easy to find because most of the really good writing communities, they are paid communities, right? They come with a course or something like that. And I myself haven't created a writing community like that because I no longer have the bandwidth for that. But it's really important that you join writing communities, find writing communities online. Here's the biggest reason why. First of all, you're going to learn a bunch from writing communities. Okay, if you feel you learn a bunch from me, wait until you join a really good writing community. You're going to learn so much. But the second thing that ends up happening in these writing groups is that when somebody gets a gig and they cannot do it because they have a full schedule because of whatever other reason, usually they'll post it in the Facebook community. A group I'm going to suggest to you, and I'll put it right here in the chat, is called the Binders group. And I don't know, Kristen, if you're on, my very able assistant, but it's called Binders, Binders. If you go on Facebook, there is a group called Binders for personal finance, Binders for health, Binders for all kinds of niches. Okay, so I'll put that in the chat. Binders. Okay, on Facebook, you can look for Binders writing groups on Facebook. And sometimes in those Binders groups, you have editors of magazines, editors for different journals, you have editors of various publications, and they will also post in the group for writers. They'll put out a call for writers. So not only will you have access to writers who, have gigs, but they can't do, or they know somebody that needs somebody to write something, but that's not like their expertise. They'll post that in the community. You also have editors that need writers that will post that in the community. And that's another way for you to find writing gigs. So if finding writing gigs is somewhere you're struggling, okay, if finding writing gigs is somewhere you're struggling right now, I highly recommend that you join these writing communities. Binders is a free one that you can join that I found to be good. When I think about 2 or 3 years ago, one of my friends, she added me to those groups and they've been helpful. But the other two methods I showed you today of searching through LinkedIn posts, filtering by the time it was posted, that's really helpful as well. I've gotten at least one opportunity, one paid writing opportunity from that. And then secondly, looking for contract opportunities on LinkedIn. And third, joining writing communities. And not just because there are so many writing communities out there that are horrible, and I don't want you to waste your time in those, but Binders is a good one on Facebook, and I just put that in the chat. So let me know what questions you have, and I will be more than happy to respond to those. Okay, so good question, Patricia. I like this question so much. It says, you say, does writing white papers and case studies require lots of patience, research, interviewing people required for experienced writers, and what's the approximate pay? So the answer to the question is yes, in a lot of ways. White papers and case studies are extensive. So a case study, so for those of you that do not know the difference between a white paper or case study, a white paper, like I was saying earlier on, is an educational piece. It's quite technical, and usually you would write a white paper that would explain a product it's very product based. So let's say that this computer I'm using or this microphone that I'm using, we could write a white paper about the microphone alone and all the technical parts of it and what it does and why you should get it. And that would be a white paper. So it's a very it's focused on a product, and it's educational in nature, and it's a marketing piece. A case study, on the other hand, is when somebody has used a service or a product, and then the company does an interview with the consumer to find out how that has gone for them. So it's essentially an extended form of a testimonial. It's a testimonial that is written It has a long written piece. So it's long form content. Okay. So white papers, both white papers and case studies, yes, they require a lot of patience. Yes, they require a lot of research. Yes, it's likely that for especially case studies, you're going to have to interview people. Now, so this can take several hours, several days for you to create. You cannot create a white paper in one day. It's impossible. I can tell you that right now. And a case study is also not created in one day. These are long form pieces of content that yes take a lot of work. Now, approximate pay, this is going to be different, but I want you to think that every time people ask me about how much do you get paid for something, I always ask them, how much do you want to make and how much do you want to get paid? If you know you get paid $50 an hour, that's an example. $50 an hour for creating a white paper, and you spend you're going to spend maybe 20 hours or 30 hours on that white paper, then approximately you're looking at $1,000 to $1,500. But that's also another reason why I don't like hourly charging, because yes, $1,000 to $1,500 sounds like a lot of money. um but it really also depends on the mental energy you put in it. So I tend to like fixed rates when it comes to things. So I'll say something like, okay, for this white paper that's going to be about 10 pages, maybe I'll charge $2,000 or something like that. $1,000 to $1,500 is not bad though. It's not like it's not terrible. It's not like, oh, we're suffering. But you really have to think, how much would I need to make from this writing this thing for it to be worth it for me? If I'm going to write something and spend the next 1 week on it, I better not get paid $500. That makes no sense. Okay, that makes no sense to get paid something so little. I know $500 is not little, but in terms of the work that goes into these things, I would say, charge above 1,000. Yeah, charge above $1,000. If you're going to do a white paper case study, it's going to take you, you're going to budget maybe 20 to 30 hours to create that. And that's not going to be the course of one day. It's going to be 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, a week, maybe. Charge what you're worth. All right. Charge what you're worth. And I think for basic, if you've never done it before, maybe $1,000. But white papers and case studies are such that before I joined the agency I'm a part of right now, when I was a freelance writer, hadn't really written white papers. I had mostly written blog content, social media content, email content. That was like the main things that I did, and I got paid quite well. When I joined the agency I'm a writer at right now, I started writing white papers, and that's when I saw how much work goes into it. And I'll tell you right now, don't charge anything less than 1,000 because they take a lot of work. And for it to be industry level quality white paper, it's a lot of work. So I hope that answers your question, Patricia. Yep. Yeah, but I would say that maybe one day I do some training on white paper writing, but those do take a lot of work. All right, all right, all right. This has been great. So again, just as we land this plane, one of the things I want to encourage you, everyone, one of the things that people come to me or ask is, how do I get started? How do I get started as a freelance writer? And I always say, get started writing your own stuff if nobody has hired you to write yet, because at some point you're going to have to show somebody that you can write. And if you've never written anything before, it's really hard to convince people to hire you. So I'd highly recommend that. If you haven't started a blog, I recommend starting one. If you don't want to start a blog, you can always write. Now you have the ability to publish blog posts or blog-like content to places like LinkedIn. You also have the opportunity to publish on places like medium.com. You have the opportunity to even start a free blog with, it's going to be cumbersome, but you can do, gnontra.wordpress.com. You can start free websites like that, but you need to show people that you can write. And that means you have to get started writing. So anyway, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, okay. You have a question. Should new and experienced writers consider joining AWAI? I know about that group, and I think I bought one or two things from them. If you think it's going to be worth it, yes. I don't. I won't say I didn't learn so much from them, but I wouldn't say that I didn't learn so much. That's how come I got started. When I bought a few things from them, and that's how I got started. But the course that really, really actually helped me launch my writing career was a course by Holly Potter Johnson called Earn More Writing. That was the course that changed everything for me. So I'm not gonna say don't join AWAI because I didn't really delve into their materials deeply. The course that really helped me and also gave me the community. So that's what I was saying earlier is join writing communities. Holly's community was invaluable when it came to that because people passed around clients all the time. And I don't think the AWAI has that. They have a lot of products, they don't have community. And at this point, I feel like products are good, but you need clients to really validate your business. One of the things, and this is not in direct, this is not to you, Patricia, this is in general. I find that one of the mistakes that a lot of us creatives make is that, yes, I believe in investing in courses for sure. You should invest. I have a freelance writing course for beginners. If you haven't invested in that, you can invest in that course because it's practical. I'm to the point. I don't give you a whole bunch of long documents that takes you years and years to read. And I felt when I got some types of materials in the past, that was what it was. There were long videos, long piece of material. It's almost impossible to get through those materials. So every time I create courses, I make them bite-sized. Right. And then Holly's course also changed things dramatically for me. That was when I actually started to make full-time income writing. But I think a lot of the time people get hung up on buying the right product versus actually getting their first client through the door. So if you feel like you have enough experience going for you, where you've written even just one paid piece, a lot of us are willing to are ready to move forward and don't need any extra. Of course, you should invest in your learning and all that. But sometimes a lot of us creators get caught up in that and then don't move forward to make the money we deserve to make. So just be wary of that. There's a balance there. There's always a balance there. You're absolutely welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Well, it's been fantastic. I'll talk to you all next week. Until then, keep on writing and we'll talk soon. Bye.